Okay, there we go. Back again with another live stream. Let me check if everything is working, and then we can dive in. It seems like everything is working once again, so let me switch over to the Bitcoin chart and open the chat on my other screen. This one out. And let me put on the details here. Okay, there we go. I have everything ready now. So let's discuss what we have ahead of us here. Because we did discuss it in this morning's update video, but actually we have quite some important stuff happening in about 22 minutes. The $12 billion farmer bailout is 110% printing money. We're about to explode. Breakout by December 31. I hope so. Why would it be the case? Hello, Timo. Nice to have you here. Why would it be the case? It would be amazing, but just curious. Okay. It's a very low volume day, I must say. Not a lot has been happening, but now actually in what is it, about 22 minutes we have some important data coming out, and that is what we are going to discuss within today's live stream. We have, I think, I can see two job openings reports, but only by this one I can see the consensus, but I think we have the data of both September and October coming out. I'm not quite sure, but this is what Trading Economics is stating, and usually they are quite accurate with all of their data. So it seems like we have two major job reports incoming just before the FOMC, and I think that could be quite important because it's giving us some key insights into the US labor market just before tomorrow's FOMC meeting. Talking about that meeting for tomorrow, there's now an 89% chance that the Fed is going to cut rates by 25 basis points tomorrow. I don't think this data will have the effect that the Fed is not going to cut rates. I think the chance of that happening is not that high, but it could be causing some volatility, and probably to the downside because we can't move much higher, I think. But just getting that info just before the FOMC is going to be very important. Why the FOMC is going to be so important is something we discussed earlier, but today we have indeed the jobs report dropping here with the expectation of 7.2 million. So what you do want to see is everything below 7.2 million here for the September report, because you do want to see the US labor market weakening, and this remains to be confusing for a lot of people. Why do you want to see the labor market weakening for Bitcoin and crypto to move higher? It's because rate cuts are meant to stimulate the labor market within the USA, and two things are going to be very important for that. Of course, the data coming out that the US labor market is indeed weakening, and that is something we've seen over the last 2 years, that it is indeed the case, because the Fed, of course, hiked rates after COVID, and seems that that had a big effect on the US labor market. But on the other hand, you're also looking into the inflation, because cutting rates into inflation is never going to be an amazing idea. The Fed wants to make sure that the consumer inflation stays low. Actually, the target is 2%, but probably they're not going to reach that target. On the true inflation index, they actually did here in April. But for now, we are at 2.5, and the CPI, we are over the 3% still. So the CPI, we are still higher, and the PPI indexes and the official US inflation data. But actually, US inflation has remained quite cool. Even stagnating, even dropping a little bit over the last months. And the labor market kept on weakening, and that is why the Fed keeps on cutting rates. And now once again another 25 basis points cut is going to be next, and that meeting is going to be so important. That's what I wanted to discuss next there, because Powell is going to speak another Powell speech. That is of course always a super important event, because the rate cut of itself is priced in, so probably Bitcoin won't be moving a lot on the rate cut decision itself, but it will be on the Powell speech, because if Powell is going to say something about 2026, the outlook on the monetary policy, if he's going to let something loose there, then it gets super interesting for crypto. And it could go both ways. Powell could be hawkish, Powell could be dovish. Multiple possibilities, but it will most definitely be causing some volatility. And I see this as one of the last chances to end the year bullish if you are going to see a good outlook for the crypto market there. And then the day after, we initially had the PPI data dropping, but most of that is cancelled actually. If we break below 90k, the support, it's over. I don't think that's the case. Looking into Bitcoin, is it the 90k? I think we can drop a little bit lower and still be in an uptrend here, because we have been trading in this uptrend, trading in this ascending triangle, which is not really a bullish bias pattern, I would say. Yeah, breakout to both sides still possible, and that's why I made this video this morning, where we talked about the dovish outcome of the Fed meeting could be pushing us higher from off this zone, and the hawkish outcome. If we are going to get something dovish from off the meeting, this yearly open reclaim is going to be a very important one. But I truly feel like the market is de-risking a lot before this FOMC meeting, maybe even more aggressive than normally, because I think the trading activity is very low, volume is very low on all of the exchanges. So I think the market is de-risking. And I also saw that the US stock market opened here. Let me see where it is. US stock market opened little changed, and Nasdaq declined 0.2. So yeah, also the US stock market is not moving. Why are altcoins so screwed? Altcoin season is not coming. I do have a very interesting chart about the altcoin season, and you guys know that I kind of changed my stand on altcoins for the upcoming weeks and months, because I do want to be safe here. I'm glad to have started investing at a young age, so I would not ever invest my pension money in altcoins. Yeah. Now, look, what I'm seeing for altcoins here is actually a very interesting chart, which is the altcoin dominance, which is going to be BTCD, E dominance, USDT dominance, and the USDC dominance. If you combine all of those data points, then invert the chart, you basically have the altcoin dominance, which you can be measuring to the top side in that case. And what you can clearly see if you then overlay it with the PMI is that we basically have been perfectly moving with the PMI, which is a super interesting chart. And now, since the PMI has been in contraction for the last 3 years, basically altcoins have been perfectly moving with that PMI. So kind of an insane chart, and it doesn't seem like a coincidence for me. This might be the thing that we have been missing for an altcoin season. And I think it's not only the PMI, I think it's a combination of the monetary policy and the US business cycle. But I think the US business cycle is getting majorly affected by the US business cycle is getting majorly affected by the monetary policy of the Fed. And what we might be needing for a true altcoin season once again, because maybe that's the only thing that is going to attract those investors and get those investors higher up in the yield curve again. It is probably going to be this. Or let me balance sheet. The difference between QT and QE. Because if you're going to outline the period where we actually saw QT, so I would say it started here until here, up until here. You can see the bleeding. You can see the clear bleeding for altcoins during those periods. And the last time we saw QE, of course, we saw a major altcoin season getting started because, yeah, it is quite logical in periods of cheap money because QE is basically massive money creation. It's insane. But in periods during QE, there we see assets moving higher up in the yield curve, investors moving higher up in the yield curve, investors looking for more risk to take on. They're going to invest in altcoins. That is where you could potentially see an altcoin season. Here in 2017, I think it was different because we did have far less altcoins, so I think it was easier for the market cap to move up higher. And also, we must say that that it wasn't the case of QT. There was not QT at that moment because once QT did start, altcoins did indeed move down, and that's because investors start to move up back on the yield curve once again, since the Fed is hiking the rates, and you can be getting a return on other places also, and you don't have to take on a lot of risk with these altcoins. So that's what I'm looking for with the altcoin season. This in comparison with the PMI. I think these are going to be my leading indicators to predict the next altcoin season on the channel and to make some good investments, because I think once, for example, QE could be getting started, we are going to get massive opportunities. So actually I'm very excited for that. That is why on the channel we have been following all of that economic data, just like the labor market data today, and a lot more data over the past few weeks, like the PCE, labor market data here, business cycle data, like I'm showing you on the PMI, Powell speeches, ISM, PMI once again, jobs data, inflation data. We have been live streaming all of this because I think it's going to be important to have a clear overview of the data points we have and what it could be meaning for the monetary policy. So yeah, that is why we're doing all of it basically. It does have a lot to do with the potential altcoin season, but of course, in the period of QE, I'm also expecting that Bitcoin is going to be trending higher. I don't think if the Fed's going to start QE, that's going to be a bold claim. But I don't think that if that's going to be the case, the Fed or that Bitcoin is just going to continue in the bear market. No, I think once that is truly going to get started, like we saw earlier, Bitcoin will absolutely explode because people are going to look for higher risk assets like Bitcoin. It only makes sense. So then you can... then we are not going to see a continuation of the bear market. But what I do think, and that is something people do overlook a little bit, yeah, we could see something of QE getting started, maybe in a different way, but for now, I don't think the chance is that high that we are truly going to see QE like COVID, because this is emergency QE. So this is the Fed seeing, okay, COVID hits the economy, it's a big event, we need to stamp money into the system, we need to put liquidity into the system to make sure we basically stay alive, and we can keep the banks on running. We can keep the economy alive. That is what emergency QE is, and that's what happened during COVID. So as long as there's not going to be a major war or a new virus or a major black swan event, you cannot really be expecting something like this, because the Fed is not just going to devalue the dollar by so much, which QE is always doing, by so much, just when basically nothing is happening. Also not with this US labor market. So yeah, that is, in my opinion, important to understand. Very important to understand. And then let's head over to L-Bank, because you guys do know that I closed my Ethereum trading position, or I would assume that most of you guys know that I closed my trading position. Yeah, we did make a good profit on the Ethereum position. I closed it because I think it was a very risky trading position, definitely ahead of the FOMC here, and I think it was good to be taking some profits on it. But if you do still want to trade Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins, a lot of different pairs ahead of the FOMC, make sure to claim this bonus now, this 50% deposit bonus and your generous refund, because now you can still be claiming it and potentially using it for the next FOMC or just after to make your first trading position. Deposit bonus up to 2.5k. chance refund up to 5k. So make sure to check it out if you're getting interested in that. Make sure to check it out. Oh, and you can find that link in the description under the live stream. I will quickly show it for the people that are getting interested. Here, you can be claiming that bonus. But yeah, data dropping in 9 minutes, so I'm super excited to see what this is going to be. Will the US labor market weaken even more? Or I'm no longer trading until January. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are doing that. The market is very dry. There's not a lot of volume. People are indeed leaving the markets. But yeah, those are also the moments where yeah, possibly very big moves are going to occur, both to the top side and downside possible. But yeah, it is definitely going to be interesting. What are you guys expecting for the FOMC? What are you guys' expectations? Is Bitcoin going to break down here? Or are we going to break the yearly open and trend higher? What do we guys think? Breaking the yearly open would be a very bullish scenario because we are in an uptrend. Price action is so indecisive here over the last 2 days. Look at these candles. It's so boring. We're breaking down. Everything is down. Yeah. Let's see. It would be somewhat of the perfect uptrend though, if this is going to be the level where we bounce. But yeah, the yearly open is going to be a critical one because yeah, we discussed this a lot in the update videos, and there's also not a lot of interest in the update videos at the current moment, but now actually we are discussing very important stuff, which is that yearly open level where you can clearly see that since 2014, those levels always provide major resistance or support. And the breakthrough or breakdown from off these levels is always a very important one. Just look at this one, breaking the yearly open. Major move higher. Getting rejected here in 2019. Big move lower. Here with COVID. Here we found support actually, but this was the yearly open yet. We moved higher, broke below it, then bounced on the 2019 open here. Then moved higher once again. So it shows you how important those yearly opens actually are, and I think people are not really paying close attention to this. Here we can also see it. Big support. Big resistance. This entire zone. Resistance once again. Resistance. Resistance. Very interesting levels, I must say. A push up written retest after and retest of the yearly open. Yeah, that would be a very likely scenario. If we break above the yearly open, the retest is probably going to happen. Indeed. And then let's see if we can be holding above it. Maybe we should be looking in the volume profile for a moment here. Where is the volume laying? You can indeed see some. Yeah. I think if indeed Bitcoin breaks above the yearly open, some of this volume will push up a little bit higher. And we do get quite some strong support at the yearly open, probably. But for that we need to break it first. Now we do have a lot of volume here actually. this level. So that's also going to be an interesting one. And yeah, then the next major zone where a lot of shorts are placed is going to be this one. If Bitcoin could be pushing up that high, because this is the zone. If I'm not wrong, this is indeed your range. You can clearly see the range here for Bitcoin. And this mid level of the range, once we did break above this level, we always saw moves to new all-time highs basically. Here the break, not this break actually, but this break also. Here we saw it. It's actually laying a little bit higher. And once we did break below it, once it got rejected here, we did saw that first big move lower. Then we saw a very small bounce, then another big move lower. So yeah, interesting. But conclusion, the yearly open is going to be super important level. And let's see what will be next from off that level. Let's see. We have the data dropping in 3 minutes here already. The time is going by fast. So let's see what it is going to be once again here. I am going to switch over now to my X page and to the economic calendar. Okay, first number we are going to be looking into is for the September, October. It looks like September and October are both going to drop here. For September, we are looking into a number under 7.2 million. And yeah, from there, we just have to see how the data will be coming out. Actually, a number under that number. So it will be quite conflicting data. So I would say that we could potentially see some volatility here. Because the market might not be exactly knowing how to read the data here. Me neither. But we are going to do our best. The first thing we look into is the September data, which must be coming out under this previous number. And the forecast is 7.2 million. So everything lower than 7.2 million is going to be fine. And of course, a very big difference from off this level up or down is causing volatility. But I would say you guys do know that by now if we have been watching the latest streams. We have it dropping in 2 minutes. President Trump is asking if the net Fed chair will be expect to lower interest rates immediately. His response, yes. He's clear. Okay, would Bitcoin for his cycles disrupted? We won't see the same as previous Dow Jones. Interesting. Okay, data is basically dropping now, so we'll keep refreshing here. What is it going to be? Bitcoin here. Maybe also 5-minute chart. Bitcoin moving up a little bit here. 9.3. Okay, it's dropping now. I don't see any notifications yet. That's weird. Normally it's coming out now. It is taking much longer than expected. Oh, there it is. It's coming out now. Oh, whoa. It's much higher than expected. Whoa. And Bitcoin's dumping, isn't it? Whoa. It's much higher than expected. October 3 at 3.6. September 3.6. Okay. That is not necessarily very good. That is not very good. Let's see what this will be doing with the rate cut odds. Bitcoin coming down. Bitcoin is actually pumping. Okay. Interesting. Alright. Jobs openings. I'm doing a quick post on X. So data well above expectation, but Bitcoin is seeing a major pump actually. Is doing the exact opposite of what I had been expecting, to be honest. Interesting. Whoa, huge pump. What the hell? Let's see if this pump is going to get reversed. Whoa. The US labor market. But it's exactly the opposite is happening for Bitcoin here. Very interesting. Let me do a quick post. Bitcoin is pumping. Very interesting. What are those rate cuts odds doing then? Maybe the market just doesn't give a shit. The pump is. I think the pump is getting to start to get reversed here. Okay. Going back to the data. Job openings. Yeah. It's much higher than expected. And also the ADP employment came out high than the previous one. So yeah, actually today we've only seen very good US labor market data. And the pump is getting reversed now also. Maybe I should have shorted this pump, to be honest, but yeah. Maybe I should have done so. What do you guys think? Is this a signal of strength for Bitcoin? Or is it just some... it looks to me just like a sort of a short squeeze. I can't check on my PC, but I will quickly check on Polymarket. I don't understand how that translates. Maybe the markets don't care. No, indeed the markets don't care. I also don't really understand, to be honest, but yeah, we got like a big 5-minute candle up, but clearly it's not necessarily good. But on the other hand, I don't think the rate cut odds are then really moving. They were still at 89 here, and I'm going to quickly check Polymarket on my phone. Then I will tell you guys what I'm seeing there. Yeah, Polymarket is it's also unchanged. This report doesn't really matter to most traders, it seems like. Maybe it is quite a big difference actually. But yeah, very positive indeed. I love to see Bitcoin pumping here. Now I hope we can seeing this momentum continue up into the FOMC. And then the big question is going to be What will be next here for Bitcoin after the FOMC? Are we going to dump again, like the two last ones, or are we indeed going to pump? Is it going to be the last lifeline of Bitcoin, basically? That's going to be the big question. Bro, do you even know what these numbers means? Job openings are good. We need to stop calling bad data is good and vice versa. It really depends. It really depends, man. It might be good for the used labor market, but what's good for the used labor market doesn't necessarily has to be good for Bitcoin and crypto. So what you're saying is not correct. Definitely not. If you're purely looking into the rate cuts, odds, and if you're hoping for more rate cuts for crypto, um, then you should not be willing to see the job openings data coming in higher than expected. Definitely not. But yeah, it depends. Of course, rate odds are not good for the economy, but I think most people do know so. Because the Fed is cutting rates because something in the economy is not going that well. And that is currently the US labor market. Bitcoin keeps on moving higher. A soft landing is better than bad economic data leading to potential crash, which will, yes, bring up liquidity, but that's not the only way to get it. It depends. I think for crypto, it's much better to see a scene crash than a soft landing, ultimately. Because the more stimulation, the better for crypto. Just talking specifically about crypto. Not talk about the economy itself and the fact that it will hurt people. Most definitely it will hurt people. And that is, of course, never nice. But if you're just purely looking into crypto, we're coming back down here. Mm. 90.8K. It will just take longer. That's okay. We don't need instant gratification. Slow and steady up is better than fast down, fast up. We shall see. I think the market sees this as bullish. Yeah, Bitcoin did indeed pump, so it might be seeing it as bullish. Indeed. Indeed. Let's see. Okay, so that's it once again. We've seen the data coming out. This was basically our last data point before the next FOMC. It's not giving us much clarity, to be honest. Rate cut odds remain the same on poly market. Same can be said. So it seems like we are getting a rate cut tomorrow. That's the only thing we do know for certain. And yeah, then let's see at the FOMC itself. Tomorrow I will be live with that FOMC. It's going to be a super important stream. Most important one in a long time. Up until the next FOMC, of course. But we have been building up into this basically with all of the used labor market data, PMI, inflation, PPI, CPI. So we have been building into this. Like stated, if you do want to start trading yourself, make sure to also check out Lbank, trade Bitcoin, ETH, and a lot of other altcoins. Bitcoin is reversing the pump in the meantime here. Yeah, make sure to come over to Lbank if you're getting interested in that. You can still be claiming this 2.5k deposit bonus and this 5k generous refund. So make sure to check it out for yourself. If you're getting interested in that, you can find the link to claim that offer here in description on this live stream. So make sure to go and check that one out if you're getting interested into claiming that offer on Albank. And from there, let's see if we have more to discuss. Ethereum remains in compression. Also, look at the price action. We are clearly compressing into the next FOMC. Market de-risking a little bit. I'm not expecting much more than that for this night, tonight, for me tonight, for most probably afternoon, evening. And yeah, tomorrow we'll be back with another update video. And the live stream is going to be a long day. So make sure to be there, because you don't want to be missing out on that. Thanks all of you guys for watching once again. If you do have a last question, make sure to drop it in the chat. And yeah, then I will see you guys in a bit. Give me a follow, Super Finance Bro. I will look you up on X. Okay, guys, have an amazing morning, afternoon, evening. Depends on your time zone, of course. And then I will see you guys within the next live stream or update video a little bit later. No problem, Messi. See you next time. Good time, guys.